You're listening to the Wrestling Philosophy Show, where we talk wrestling perspectives and beliefs. Check us out on social media, including video shows on YouTube and audio on podcast platforms. In this episode, we sit down with Robert Watson Powell. He walks the listeners through how he was persistent in becoming a college coach and the several paths that got him to New England College. Coach Powell talks about Henniker, New Hampshire, and the programs the school is known for. We talk music, favorite concerts, and obviously wrestling. Thanks, Coach Powell, for your time. How are you doing today, Coach?
Doing well. Just a bright, rainy Tuesday morning. Getting some things in and getting ready for the season to get going. We've been practicing here for a week now, and everything's starting to get rolling together.
Nice. So, yeah, season's here, and we're just talking. We go back further than we thought. So you were back. Was it 04, 05 at the Kenston?
Yeah,
Kenston
about
camp.
that time. So when you were in high school at Kent or college at Kent, when I was in high school at Kenston, Kent State Wrestling would do a camp at Kenston every single year. And I'm pretty sure either would have been 7th or 8th grade summer, you were my camp counselor for the summer.
Wow.
Just that far back, just how close we go. And then the time I spent up in Willard when I coached with you, against you and with you a little bit at your club at St. Mary's. So,
yeah, we had some good summers. You were helping our upper weights, actually the ones at Tiffin wrestling and the other ones playing football at Ohio State, and coming up at open mats. And then you were at Willard, but that's cool. The whole Kenston thing, because those camps were crazy big back in the day.
Camps, we'd have like 4 or 5 mats in the gym, and all the Kenston wrestlers got to kind of go for free, but they charged other wrestlers.
Mm-hmm.
But it was like we worked it. We cleaned the mats every day after wrestling. We pulled all the mats down, and if you ever look at that Kenston campus, all those buildings are spaced out. Carrying those mats from building to building, so rough. I remember there was a middle school tournament when I was like a sophomore. We were supposed to move the mats from the high school to the middle school. And Coach Clem says, move those mats. A guy's dad drove up with a truck, and we put him in the truck. And Coach goes, I didn't say put him in the truck. I said, you move them.
Oh.
We had to carry them from the middle school back to the high school and carry them back up to the middle school.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, that was Tommy Manning's brainchild, I believe, that whole camp system.
Oh, yeah, Manning, he's a great guy. When I got my first head coaching job, him and Coach Klimkowski were the first guys I reached out to. Just, let me know what you can tell me about coaching, because I just graduated college and I know nothing.
No, that's cool. Some good guys to reach out to. That's awesome. Speaking of you coaching, give us a little rundown of your, coaching history. You've had a lot of experiences, and just fill us in on that.
Yeah, so I've been coaching now. This will be my 7th season coaching in general, 4th season as a head coach here at NEC. So I started 2013. I finished college at Muskingum, wrestled there for 4 years, spent 2 years as a team captain, went there right out of high school. And then I really wanted to get my master's. So I said, I'm looking to get in a GA position, because that's the big thing. You want to be a GA, get your master's, work and learn to coach. That summer, didn't get any jobs. I didn't have a teaching license. So I said, I'll come back for a 5th year, get my teaching license. I assisted at Muskingum. I assisted at Maysville High School down in Zanesville, Ohio. So I was there for a year, and it was a busy 5th year of college. I'm coaching at 2 wrestling teams. I'm working a part-time job. I'm taking 21 credit hours and just grinding. That's the craziest thing about me. I just love to grind and go. So I graduate 2014, do the same thing. I apply for about 20 to 25 GA positions. No coach calls me back. No coach gives me an email, nothing. So I'm like, all right, I'll apply for some high school coaching jobs. I apply at Willard, Ohio, and no idea where Willard is, hadn't heard of them, didn't even say if it was a head or assistant coaching job. I just applied. I get there for the interview, like, yeah, we want you to be our head coach. So I'm like, all right, 22 years old. I just finished college. I don't really know much about being a head coach, but let's do it. Let's take the journey.
Only way to learn.
Yeah, only way to learn. Just jump right in the fire. So I was there for 2 seasons out in Willard. Things kind of went south after that 2nd year. It was a whole NAACP got involved with me and some students and the principal and the athletic director. And I said, I love coaching. What really hit me there was I put more time into wrestling than teaching. And I sat down with my administrators to go, teaching pays your bills, wrestling's your hobby. So I sat back and I said, you know what? I'm going to go make wrestling pay my bills.
Nice.
And it was at that point in time when I started helping out with your guys in the summer, because I was leaving Willard and I came up to, the summer workouts up at St. Mary's. I was at the summer workouts up in Norwalk and Sandusky. And that was the time Danny Helton and I think Jeff Ray stepped down that same year at Bellevue and Norwalk.
Okay.
Both guys were like, hey, if you want to apply for the head coaching job here, we'll back you in getting the job. We like you for 2 years. I said, no, I don't want to be a head coach anymore. I don't want to do high school. I remember you trying to get me a job as a middle school football coach to help out at St. Mary's as well. Didn't work out. I reached out to the head coach at Kenston now, Ricky Dubell, before he was the head coach. This is like 6 months before he's even announced the head coach. And I hear there's a rumor that you're coming back to Kenston to coach, and I'm done being a head coach. I just want to be an assistant for a year. He's like, all right, if I do it, yeah, you can come with me. Let's do it. Let's coach. So I stepped away from coaching, the whole full-time thing, and I went and I lived in my parents' basement for about a year and a half. And I just substitute taught every day between Kenston, between Brunswick, and where was else I going to? I went to a lot of Crestwood stuff as well, and that's what I did. I just coached. It was like the greatest re-love of the sport for me. I just stepped back from doing the paperwork, from handling parents, doing all the medical forms, and I just went to a room and wrestled every single day for 2 hours. Absolutely loved it. Later that year, about 2017, I moved to Brunswick, and then I spent a year down there, a little under a year, about 4 months or so, and I helped out with their wrestling team just over off season in the spring, wrestling out there with Mike Kosher.
Okay.
I believe that's the head coach out there at Brunswick, Mike Kosher. I was substitute teaching down there, and I said, hey, coach, do you mind if I come in the room and wrestle with you a little bit? He goes, yeah, come in, work with our guys. And Dean Heil's dad was running the room at that time, so working with him, and Logan, his little brother, was there as well. So just getting a chance to wrestle with those guys. It was awesome. Throughout all these years, every single summer, I was applying for head coaching jobs. I was applying for graduate assistant positions. I just wanted to get into college coaching. No one was giving me a call back. No one was giving me a shot. I didn't have all the accolades. I wasn't a 2-time All-American. I was an academic All-American. Never qualified for nationals. It's just, we don't want a guy that's a business guy. We want a guy that we can get in the room and can wrestle just every day, which I love to do, but I'm not the best guy at it. I did a few interviews that summer of 2017. I ended up interviewing with the interim head coach here at NEC. The previous head coach was deployed. He was out in Iraq for that summer. So he was, full-time head coach, but he was also with the Air Force. So I ended up interviewing with him. I thought everything went well. So I said, this is the place for me. Like, I have a feeling after that first interview, I go home and I say, Mom, I'm moving to New Hampshire. She's like, you moving to New Hampshire? Moving to New Hampshire. First interview, we talked for 20 minutes. Like, I got the job. I know I got it. Don't hear back from him for about 2 or 3 months. And then I gave up on coaching. I wanted to leave coaching. I'm living with a buddy, living in like one of his spare bedrooms. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to sell cars. So I go to a car dealership down in Brunswick, do the interview. They offer me the job. Like, hey, we want you. We think you're going to do well at selling cars. I drive home. I sit on the couch. I'm like, man, I can't sell cars. I love wrestling too much. Mm-hmm. Assistant coach at NEC calls me back and says, hey, you want to be our GA? It's like, yep. When do you need me there? Well, we got paperwork to do about a month or so. It's July. We need you here by September. I'll be there in 2 weeks.
Nice.
Pack up. I go to New Hampshire. And then I came out here, and it was absolutely amazing. That first 6 months I was out here in New Hampshire was one of the biggest growing experiences ever. Because I get here, I'm just the GA. So I'm a graduate assistant, fresh on campus. The head coach is still in Iraq, or he was in Honduras at this time, still in Honduras. The interim head coach is a full-time elementary teacher. So there's no one here except for me.
Oh, wow.
And this is second-year program. We have our first recruiting class. There's 23 kids on the roster. 19 of them are freshmen. So just imagine managing 19, 18-year-old, 17-year-old boys.
Right.
You're just
no direction, right?
Yeah,
no direction.
Like, you got to figure it out. Statements have to be done. You got to check progress reports. You got to do the financial budget, get on the road recruiting. And I was just like here by myself, just kind of trying to run the program. And I just grew such a love for working with those guys that are now my seniors. And just in that year, I grew so much as a coach. Enjoyed the time I had here at NEC. We ended with a 2-time national qualifier in those 2 years, our first regional champion. We coached 3 academic All-Americans in those 2 years, and it was great. Last summer, finished my GA internship. It's like, all right, well, I got to go coach. I got to find a job. I'm applying everywhere. No callbacks. I'm working in a warehouse and I'm washing dishes at a restaurant this time. So I'm working 8 at night to 6 in the morning in a warehouse, and then washing dishes in a restaurant from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Sleeping 4 hours a night and only doing job interviews. Interview at a couple places. During this time, I leave my apartment because rent's over, and I'm living on the couch of the head coach. So I'm just living on his couch out of a bag, working 20 hours a day, and applying for jobs. I get the job out at Iowa Wesleyan University in Mount Pleasant, Iowa, as the head men's and women's coach. And they offered me the job, I think, August 27th, 28th. I was on campus by September 1st. Just packed everything in my car. I'm going out there.
Brand new program, right?
Brand new program, start from the ground up. And, man, when they took me on campus, I loved it. I absolutely loved being out there in Iowa. It was a new change of speed for me, going from Chagrin Falls, right outside of Cleveland, Ohio, to going to Willard, going out to Muskingum, being out here in Henniker, New Hampshire, then to going out to Iowa, just a completely change of speed. So such nice people in the Midwest, nice and so flat, a lot of corn land.
Mm-hmm.
But they say, hey, you're going to build this program. All you're doing this year is recruiting. So we need you on the road. Man, I went out to Florida. I went out to California, Texas. I'm doing women's wrestling, men's wrestling. All I'm doing is recruiting, putting this program together. They're building me a wrestling facility. We had Dan Gable come out and give the speech about the facility that we were going to build.
Oh, cool.
It's just, I'm looking like this is where I'm going to be for the next 20 years. I'm going to make this thing work. We ended up getting to a little disagreement with coaching the way we wanted to. I thought, we should have one head coach to take over both programs. They wanted to split men's and women's. And I said from the day everything started, I don't care if I coach women's wrestling or men's wrestling. I just want to coach wrestling. We hired a pretty good men's coach, takes over the men's program. But at the same time, this is happening. The head coach here at NEC gets deployed again to Afghanistan. So they're looking for a head coach. So I was like, man, I really want to do this. I put a lot of time and effort into this program over these past 6 months, but I put 2 years of work into that NEC program.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking first-year program, a lot of things you buy, as a coach, you're buying out of your own pocket. As a GA that doesn't get paid, I put a lot of time, a lot of money into this program. And the connection I had with the coaches, the parents, other coaches around the staff and at the program and in the school, in the community, I was like, I got to go for it. I got to go for it. I know the seniors. I worked with them for 2 years. I recruited the juniors and coached them. I recruited the sophomores and didn't coach them for a year. They've only got 3 or 4 freshmen coming in. I can take the summer to get to know them. That's where I got to go. I got to go back home. I got to go to Henniker, New Hampshire. Ended up back here in New Hampshire. And obviously COVID. So everything that happens with COVID, we've been dealing with not being our match for a little bit in the whole recruiting process, doing visits. But other than that, I've loved every minute I've been in Henniker, New Hampshire.
Wow.
That's my journey of coaching from, just being a high school assistant to living in my parents' basement for a couple of months, to living in a buddy's apartment, to living on another coach's couch. And I probably applied for and interviewed for 40, 50 jobs, probably applied for 200 jobs over a 5-year span.
Talk about grinding, man. Right out of college, grinding.
To the point where I wanted to sell cars. That's how hard I was trying to get a coaching job.
Yeah. No, that's cool. And that kind of made you realize too, how much you love wrestling, right? When you kind of like, man, that's not what I want to do, right? And,
definitely. When you can get to the point where you can just re-love the sport. Like that summer, that year that I was coaching at Kenston, and I spent the summer working with you guys at St. Mary's, as a head coach, I didn't get to wrestle every day. I was, I'm dealing with discipline issues off the mat. I got staff meetings, half the day. I'm running our youth club. And, my assistants are wrestling every day. But I took about a year span of my life where all I did was wrestle. St. Mary's, I was wrestling at Norwalk, wrestling at Kenston, wrestling at Brunswick, and just get back to doing what you love to do and just re-visualizing why you're in this sport, what this sport's done for you and what you can really get back to it. So, yeah.
Wow. That's a heck of a story. That's pretty cool. So, back in New Hampshire, and it's at New England College at Henniker. Is that the city? It's in?
Henniker, the only Henniker on earth. That's our slogan. You can look it up. It's the only Henniker on earth. It's like heaven. Nice. It's awesome.
So it must be unique. Tell us a little about Henniker, New Hampshire.
So Henniker, New Hampshire, I honestly can't explain what's so unique about it. It's a beautiful place. New Hampshire, I have the article here in my dresser somewhere, but New Hampshire has the most covered bridges in pretty much most of the world. 3 of the top covered bridge builders are from New Hampshire. So it's just a beautiful, unique place. You have all the different sceneries, the trees, the leaves that change color. We have a ski resort here on campus, or it's about a mile off campus, called Pat's
Wow.
Peak. I worked up there as a GA. Every student that we have gets access to the mountain with their student ID. So if you come in and you can ski and you can snowboard, your student ID is your lift pass. So you have all your own
Wow.
stuff. You go up there for free.
That's
Um,
awesome.
which brings back to another funny story. When I took the job at NEC, I'm packing up because I moved in a week and a half. Texted assistant coach, is there anything else I need to bring? Fishing pole, skis, and snowboard if you got them. I text back, you're not going to find too many black guys outside of Cleveland, Ohio with skis or a snowboard. But I went skiing, 2 years ago. It was really cool. But we have our bridges here. We have a bridging ceremony on campus, which is by far one of the coolest and most amazing things that I see schools do. And I always talk to kids when they come on visits for it. We have a bridge on campus. So the first day for like opening convocation, we'll put all the freshmen over there, hang the flags of every country that every student's from. We have a guy that's done the bagpipes for about 30 years now. He'll walk you from the bridge up through campus, and then you'll sit. It's kind of like commencement in the beginning of the year. The
Okay.
president will speak, the board of trustees will speak, and it'll welcome you into NEC. And then when you graduate, same thing, cap and gown on the bridge, all the flags are hanging. You'll walk up and I don't know if it's actually called the bridging ceremony, but I call it the bridging ceremony.
Okay.
You start on that bridge, you end on that bridge. Just bridging the gap between high school to college and then college to actual life, which
Nice.
is what we try to do here as college coaches. We
Right.
want all Americans, we want national champions, but we want guys to come in and then go out in 4 years ready to be, part of this society and ready to do great things.
No, that's true. I just actually, before we got on, I seen I think it was called Reform Sports Parent put out, you know, there's no reason to, push a kid towards D1 or away from, junior college or D3. In real life, there's no divisions. If you get a
No,
good education, you're a good person. There's no divisions in life. You know what I mean? So if you're,
yeah, that's your goal. You don't want to go D1, D2, you want to go where you can get an education. When I recruit
right,
any kid, I say, hey, I think this is the place for you, but go where you think you're going to become successful, get a great education, and do better in life.
right,
Wrestling will help get you into college, but it will not get you out of college.
right. That's a
Those
great point.
connections you build, those relationships you
Right.
build, it's what you do as a student, the grade you get, that's what's going to matter.
Right.
Wrestling, you can win 4 national championships, D1, D2, D3, but if you can't go and get a job and be a great employee, all that's just going to go by the wayside.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, another one I like to tell our kids, well, I want to go to such and such school, or it's like, why do you want to? Well, I like, it's like,
Yeah, I like their
such and
colors. I
such
like their
program, right?
mascot. Well, they got this history. Go
Yeah,
make
yeah,
history. Don't
yeah,
follow
yeah.
history. Go make history. I call our recruiting, I call our academic philosophy the 4 for 40. What you're doing the next 4 years sets you up for the next 40 years.
Okay.
We'll tell that to your guys when they're saying, hey, coach, I want to go to this school, I want to go to that school. So well, think about it. The next 4 years are going to determine what you can and will do the next 40 years. So just think about that.
That's good. That's good. That's real good. You touched on a little bit, talking about skiing, only black man outside of Cleveland skiing, and we talked a little bit off air about African American coaches in wrestling, and I guess talk a little about that. But you said there's only 3 in Division
Yeah.
One and
Yeah. So
6
in
in D3.
Division One, there was an article the Open Map put out. I think it was in March or June. It was like right pre-COVID. There's only 3 coaches now in Division One. African American coaches: Chris Pendleton, Angel Escobedo, and his name just completely slipped my mind. The head coach over at Duke. And it was just an article, kind of an Ohio coach, Bobby Douglas. Everyone in the wrestling world knows Bobby Douglas. He's the only African American Division One wrestling coach to win a national championship. Wrestled at Bridgeport down in Ohio. Coached at Iowa State. Coached at Arizona State. But yeah, here in Division Three, the numbers are just about the same. We have a couple more schools in Division One, but off the top of my head, I couldn't say I know every Division Three school, but there's 5 or 6. Jason McLean over at Muhlenberg, myself here at New England College, Brandon Bradley over at Nebraska Wesleyan, Charles Mason at Mount St. Joe's down in Cincinnati, Ohio, and then Amon Prater, who's down at Fontbonne in Missouri. So all these coaches, I've had conversations with every coach that I just mentioned. The reason I know that they're in there is because I've had conversations with all of them. And Leroy Gardner over at the University of the Ozarks in Arkansas.
Okay.
I haven't talked to him. He's in the same boat kind of as the head coach was at NEC. He's full time in the military, so he does some deployments. So I've talked to his assistant a little bit. But yeah, I mean, the numbers and what it looks like as far as college wrestling goes and college athletes, and there's a lot of minorities and a lot of African Americans that are represented in the sport of wrestling, but they're not represented as coaches.
Mm-hmm.
What this article that I read kind of hit on me was for in the NFL, they have the Rooney Rule. So whenever you're hiring a new head coach, you have to at least interview one minority coach.
Mm-hmm.
And the article was just hitting on, is that something that needs to happen in NCAA wrestling? Because the numbers of African Americans in wrestling aren't the way they are in football, but football is way more disproportionate than wrestling.
Right.
Just because you have a higher number of student athletes. It's something that I kind of push for as a coach. It's not really something that, I say out loud as my ultimate goal, but I do try to be a great role model and work with a lot of minority wrestlers that we have here on this campus. NEC is, last I checked, they were the number 2 second diverse campus in New Hampshire.
Oh, wow.
I believe we were only behind Dartmouth. So if you walk on our campus, you're like, yeah, we're in Henniker, New Hampshire. But if you look at our basketball team, men's and women's, our soccer team, our wrestling team, we are a very diverse campus because we get a lot of students and a lot of athletes from the inner city, from New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, that really find a home and a connection coming to the small town speed of life. And I think it's something that, should be addressed, and that doesn't necessarily get addressed as much as it should, but we are underrepresented as Black coaches in the NCAA, especially in Division III. And you talked about a little bit on off air that you wanted to reach out to the Black Wrestling Association,
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
which is a great association to reach out to. They did a clinic at the coaching convention this past summer, the NWCA coaching convention in August. When it all got started up, it was Nate Jackson, Kyvan Gadsden, and Kerry McCoy were kind of the leaders of that. I know Mark Hall's on the board of trustees for them as well.
Mm-hmm.
But their goal is, to help African Americans with scholarships towards college, to help, get some good representation of black men as coaches, and also to help with bringing wrestling back to HBCUs. I think there's one HBCU right now that has a wrestling program. It's an NAIA school out in Georgia.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Is it Georgia?
So, yeah, so I guess, being an African American coach, how do you kind of mentor, Black athletes, so they stay involved in the sport and they do, utilize the sport to their advantage?
Yeah, the number one thing that I do is just I try to talk to our guys as much as I can and just kind of guide them the right way. We
mm-hmm.
do get guys that come in here and they're city kids. They want to
mm-hmm.
wear baggy jeans. They want to wear their hat. I wear a hat 90% of the time. That's fine. They want to dress a certain way. They want to talk a certain way. I just try to work with our guys and teach them, just how to reach out to your professors. How to do certain things that it's not necessarily with having African-American students. I treat every single athlete the same. And I want every guy that comes in to have that same mentorship on how do I send an email to a professor, showing up to class on time, showing up to practice on time, getting work done, knowing how to reach out for help, and just being a respectful young man and young woman. I don't have any women right now, but I would do the same. But it's just leading by example. The number one thing you can do for a student athlete, whether they're Black, white, green, purple, is just lead by example. If you want to build your student athletes to be a certain way or live a certain life, you got to also live that life. You got to make sure you're showing up on time. You got to make sure you got your khakis and your polo on, you're looking nice, you're looking presentable. And that's something that a lot of kids coming into college don't really get in high school.
Mm-hmm.
You don't really have that mentorship, with the high school coaches, not because high school coaches don't want to mentor, but coaching is usually a part-time job for them.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why I wanted to go into full-time coaching, and coaching full-time is getting a chance to work with those guys all the time. I tell them I'm a 24/7 wrestling coach. You can call me whenever, you can text me whenever. I'll answer my phone. If I don't answer it, as soon as I see it, I'll call you right back. Just being a mentor that you can have, being someone that can help lead you the way. I want to see every athlete that comes in for me come in as a freshman, and then in 4 years, I want to be able to watch you graduate, write a letter of recommendation for you, and see you get a job and be successful. And that's more important to me than any plaque or any medal we can put on the wall. Your education and where you can go is the most important thing to me and all my athletes.
Yeah, that's the truth. So, with your experiences, do you feel, talking about the student athletes and everything, do you think one of your strong suits is recruiting and I guess what's your plan there at New England College? I'm
So
assuming
I
most
think
of your,
personally, I think my strong suit is recruiting. I'm a pretty good people person. That's what everyone tells me. Like, you're a people person. You love to talk. You get along with everyone. But recruiting is a strong point. If you can get a parent to really believe in not just what you're selling them, but what you're building as a program.
mm-hmm.
Because at the end of the day, any mom that her son's getting recruited, or dad, son, daughter's getting recruited, you're handing your child off to this person, and you want them to come back better than you left them. That's something your mom teaches you when you're in kindergarten. Always leave things better than you found them.
Right.
So when I go out to recruiting, I preach to my student athletes, the high school kids, academics is number one here. When you come here, our goal, every freshman in our program has a mandatory 6 hours of study tables per week. When your midterms come out, if you have a midterm that's below a C or below, I reach out to the professor. If you have a missing assignment, you can't come to practice till that assignment's done. We will not put athletics before academics. I tell all our kids, all the parents, the 4 for 40. Our goal is to make sure that, you're not just setting yourself up for success for 4 years, just for 40 years down the road.
Mm-hmm.
And then just the growth and everything we've accomplished here, that helps us with recruiting. In just 4 years, we've had 4 seasons on the mat at NEC. First year, no dual meet wins, no regional placers, no nothing. Second year, brought in our first recruiting class. We had our first regional champion, our first national qualifier. We had 2 regional champs that year. We had 2 academic All-Americans that year as freshmen. And in just year 2, nobody graduated.
Oh, wow.
We brought everyone back. We did some more recruiting. We jumped from 17th to 15th in the region that year. Last year, or 2 years ago in year 2, we ended up having another national qualifier. We had 2 guys wrestling that 3-4 match to make it out to nationals. We won our first match of the national tournament. We jumped up to placing 13th in the region that year. So we just kept growing and kept developing as a program. After that 3rd year, no one graduated. We brought everyone back. We brought in some more recruits. This past season, while I was in Iowa, they had their best season yet. I believe they went 4-9 in dual meets. They lost 6 dual meets by less than 3 points.
Oh, wow.
6 dual meets by less than 3 points, and they went 4-9. They had another regional finalist. Our 149-pounder, was an All-American. Be it that the tournament wasn't wrestled due to COVID, but he went into the national tournament second in the nation in pins with a 43-3 record. He had lost once to the number 1 seed and twice to the number 2 seed.
Oh, wow.
And that's what a program has as a 4th-year program.
Right. When you took 10th, did you take 10th in the regional then too, I believe?
10th in the region. We took 10th in the region that year as
so
well.
you're making them
steadily just growing those tracks. What the crazy thing is about all that and how successful we were last year? We only graduated 1 guy.
Oh, wow.
Two-time national qualifier. So we've got 90% of our rosters back this year, plus some really good recruits that we brought in. So it's not only are we doing the right thing academically. I didn't even mention the 6 academic All-American plaques that we have right now.
Oh, sweet.
Not only are we doing the right things academically, we are building, we are growing on the mat and showing that we are getting better year by year by year.
Nice.
With all this being said, we had a full-time coach that had been deployed 3 out of our first 4 years who couldn't really do the recruiting.
Right.
Now we have a full-time coach who my strong point is recruiting. My strong point is academics. I got some really good coaches, on my staff. My assistant head coach, Brandon Gauthier, he was a 2-time national qualifier and All-American. Our graduate assistant, he was a 4-time regional placer, 3-time qualifier, 2-time All-American. We had a 3-time All-American as a GA last year who we're working on once COVID things, settle down, we can get him back on campus to help with us. So we've got some really good coaches that handle the wrestling room. And,
4 guys for a small program. That's pretty good, right?
Yeah. And I just do the best I can with recruiting, handling the budgeting, making sure that, we're doing our community service. We're getting out there. We're getting the support that we need. We have tons of support from our community, from our athletic director. This program, many people might not have heard of it before now, but you're going to know of NEC here in the next couple of years.
Oh, that's awesome. No, that's awesome. One thing I like to ask those that are on, do you have any unwritten rules of the sport?
I don't. I've listened to all the podcasts before, and everyone throws out, I think the number one thing out there is kind of the stalling rules, and whatnot. But the only thing that I would say is kind of not an unwritten rule, but I want to see from more wrestlers is win or lose a match, always shake the opposing coach's hands.
Mm-hmm.
the number one thing that bugs me, and I don't know if it should always be a team point. I know you have the option when you go to college, and win or lose that match, never fear your opponent, always respect your opponent. You win or lose, you go shake the opposing coach's hand.
Right.
If my guy comes off the mat, he hasn't shaken the other coach's hand, I point him over there. If a guy beats one of my guys or loses to him, he doesn't come shake my hand, then I got a salty taste in my mouth about him.
Right.
You know, because that doesn't show respect for the sport.
Right. That's definitely, the respect, of the sport, right? Shake before, shake the kid's hand before or after match.
Yeah.
Have the coach afterwards. It might look a little different this year, with COVID, but
yeah, but
we'll find ways to still acknowledge the respect. I'm sure,
Definitely.
Another question I like to ask the guys is, if you had a NCAA or a walkout song, what would you pick as your song?
Ooh, that's tough. If I had a walkout song, I would honestly have about 3 songs that would rotate and I would come out to them.
Okay.
Either Guerrilla Radio, Fistful of Steel, or a song just popped out of my head. Guerrilla Radio, Fistful of Steel. I can't even think of the third song.
That's all right.
The third song. I just had this conversation with someone yesterday, and I said if I came out, I would come out to Rage Against the Machine. Okay. I mean, Guerrilla Radio and Fistful of Steel are definitely the top 2. But the third one, I said to one of my guys, and I can't remember what the song was, so it must not have been that great of a song.
Yeah, it's still two's better.
But yeah, growing up in high school and like through college, if I was in the hole, I was listening to Rage Against the Machine. Okay. I don't know why. That's what I was listening to. When I coached my first year coaching at Willard, every Thursday we'd run a drill that we called Dragos when I was in college. So one guy was in for 6 minutes and, basically a shark bait, but a little bit different pace to it. It's like every Thursday, that's what we ran. We're going to have a 45-minute practice. We're just going to listen to Rage Against the Machine, and we're just going to go live. We're just going to go hard, and we're going to get out of here.
Nice.
We're just going to go hard and get out of here. Like, I love Rage Against the Machine. Nice. I did when I did my press conference at Iowa Wesleyan last year, I quoted Rage Against the Machine, and one of my friends called me instantly. He's like, did you just quote Rage Against the Machine in like a professional press conference? I said, yeah, I did.
He caught that, huh? That's cool. You mentioned you listen to most, a lot of different music genres. What's live music? You really like live music. Any favorite concerts?
I love live music. I love jam bands. I love rap, hip hop. I love jazz music, blues music. I'm really into like electro funk right now.
Okay, cool.
It's just funk music that's electronic, like bands like Sun Squabi, Lettuce. Who have I seen recently? I love blues music. I've seen Tedeschi Trucks Band a couple times. My favorite guitarist right now, a guy that I've seen 3 times in 3 years, is Gary Clark Jr.
Oh, Gary Clark. His tiny desk, his little tiny desk they do in Austin. That's one of my favorites.
Oh my gosh. I've seen him in Ohio. I've seen him
Have you really?
In Boston. I was supposed to be in Indianapolis this past year, but I just love, if I'm not working, I'm listening to music.
He's good. I like him a lot. I would love to see him. I would love to see him.
I personally think he's the greatest guitarist of my generation.
He's sweet. Someone who I just seen, I was talking to Neiman. I don't think it was on the show, but we were talking off air. Pretty sweet guitarist is Marcus King. Have you seen him? Heard of him?
Twice.
You seen him twice?
I seen him here in New Hampshire. Played on my birthday. He played on my birthday in Connecticut while I was down there visiting my sister. And I'm like, hey, let's go to the show. Let's go to the show. Let's go to the show. Like, no, we don't want to go. But he played the day after my birthday in New Hampshire. Went to the show. He played before Tedeschi Trucks Band. And then I went and saw him in Iowa. Last live show I've seen since before COVID hit was Marcus King.
Same here. I was up in Cleveland, went to House of Blues in Cleveland. I think it was in December, right before Christmas, and that was the last live show I seen.
Probably the same tour that I saw.
Oh, he rocked the place, man. It was.
He kills it. He is so soul. If you listen to him and then you go see him live, you're like, that sound is not coming from that man. But it's
right. It's like, wait, and he's young. Wait, 23 or something. He's young.
No, he's young. He's super young.
Third generation musician.
I'm only 29, but some people seem very young to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, he rocked the place. I was so pumped for the show. I actually went with my dad and brother, and my dad's best friend plays guitar, and he's seen, he knows guitars, and he was, never heard of the guys. Like, you got to come watch this guy, and he seemed like, holy, Holy cow,
Well,
he's good. And I send him Gary Clark stuff all the time, Gary Clark Jr. stuff all the time. It's like, yo, check this song out. You know,
so I was in.
those are two of my favorites for sure.
Oh yeah, we were in Arrington, Virginia, at a music festival. It's probably 2015, 2016, and Phil Lesh and friends. So Phil Lesh was part of the Grateful Dead. They did a show and they had a guy sit in with them, Gary Clark Jr. And he takes away, starts playing solo. They all leave the stage, and Phil goes, "If you guys have never heard of Gary Clark Jr., you better get used to his name because he's about to be the biggest thing in the world."
Yeah, he's
And that was 5 years ago, and I've seen him 4 times since.
nice. He's on top of my list to see. That's for certain. I was
Well, if
supposed
he
to
comes
see.
to Ohio and I'm back in Ohio, we'll go together.
Yeah, let me know, man, for sure. My brother, like I said, my brother just moved up to Chagrin Falls, so if you get back that way, for sure, I would love to see him. I was supposed to see Stapleton in August. I was going to take my daughters to their first concert, but
He was supposed to
obviously
play
with
the
COVID.
Iowa State Fair.
What's that?
Chris Stapleton was supposed to play the Iowa State Fair this August.
Okay.
So if I was still in Iowa, I had a couple buddies that was on our checklist. They were going to come out to Iowa, hit up the state fair. And, Iowa's like the king of agriculture in the world, so I can only imagine how their state fair is.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I bet that's wild.
Their state tournament is kind of like a state fair. With all the recruiting I've done, I've been to Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New Hampshire. I've been to New England, Ohio. I've been to the Florida State Tournament. I've been to so many state tournaments. Iowa State Tournament is like a wrestling tournament inside of a state fair.
Oh, really?
Very wild.
Where's it at now? I know they've moved it a couple of times.
It's out in Des Moines. I don't know the name of the center, but it's out in Des Moines, so it's pretty big.
Okay, I'm gonna be out there in a couple of weeks.
Like state tournaments out here are pretty small. New Hampshire State Tournament's in a high school gym. Massachusetts State Tournament, D1, D2, D3, it's all in a high school gym. Then they have all states. We did 2017. We had our first national qualifier. Nationals were out in Cleveland. So I talked to the head coach. I go, "Hey, we're going to be out in Cleveland. Let me get a rental car. Let me go down to the Ohio State tournament because it was the same weekend. So let me drive down there for a year, drop off some information, do a little recruiting." I took our assistant coach down there with us. He goes, "This is the high school state tournament?" Like, because it was the Ohio high school state tournament gets big, but it's nothing like what they have out here in New England. And just like all the small states, they have their own like little state tournaments. And they're just high school gyms. And then they have New England's, which is kind of the top four, depending on the state, the top four from every state, then go to New England's, and then you're the New England champ.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's
cool.
Wrestling
coming from Ohio to New England was a change of speed of like the wrestling I was watching and how kids were wrestling. It's tough out here, but it's a different world.
You still trying to recruit Ohio guys, or what states do you
I try to recruit some Ohio guys. I definitely do. I've not been successful yet. It's just if you're an Ohio guy and you're going to go wrestle D3, you got 13 schools right in the state. You don't necessarily need to leave, and I get that. But we recruit all of New England, and then our big recruiting states are New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania for obvious reasons. Those are some heavy hitters as far as wrestling goes, and we're decent distance. We've got 4 kids on our roster right now from Easton, Pennsylvania.
Nice.
Easton, like the Easton, Nazareth area where Sasso's from and Jordan Oliver's from. So all of some of our top guys are from that area. So try to keep that pipeline going. And we've got a lot of guys from out in New Jersey. We got 3 guys from Westwood, New Jersey, a couple prep kids from New Jersey. Then we have a couple New York kids as well from Long Island and right in the city. So we try to do really well with recruiting those hotbeds. I mean, the Nazareth head coach who coached Sammy Sasso, his son's on our team. It's like, hey, I just went down there, had lunch with him and his wife, met some of his kids, and we're still trying to keep that pipeline from New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania going, but really try to hammer down those tough New England kids. Because there's some tough New England kids out here.
Nice. What's the school known for academically? What fields?
Known for our biggest academic field here is criminal justice. I want to say at one point in time, I know for a fact 90% of our team was criminal justice majors, but this is just a random number. I'd say 40, 50%, 30, 40 of students. Criminal justice is a really big major out here, and we've got some really cool programs that they do with it. The head of our department was an FBI agent for I think 10 years, and he takes the guys out on some field trips. He brings in a lot of good speakers for them. We have a cybersecurity major. We have a homeland security major. So if you're a criminal justice person, this is the place to be. And then art is growing. So this is something I kind of want to get out there to like the wrestling world. Not
Okay.
a wrestlers want art school or art
All right.
degrees,
Mm-hmm.
but I've run into some recruiting where guys are like, hey coach, I want to major in art. Art's really not that big of a thing out here. But we just purchased an art school about 40 miles away. That's our second campus. And I went down there. I've been down there a couple of times, taking a tour of some buildings. They got this cool cathedral-looking building that I've been trying to map out a dual meet in for a couple of years.
Oh, nice, nice.
And I'm planning on putting in a bid to host nationals here in like 3 or 4 years. If we can get those out to New Hampshire.
Oh,
but
nice.
yeah, so we've got art now. We've got PE. We have 37 different majors to choose from. So you can't really go wrong here. And then we have, I think, 15 different master's programs to choose from as well. I got my master's here at NEC. I'm working on a personal statement. I plan to apply for my doctoral program by the end of next year. I want to start one by 30. So
good for you, man.
Get that done.
Good for you. I got a little art story. So, I wrestled at Kent, as you know, and my college roommate, actually, that was his degree was in art, sculptures. He did glass and metal, and ended up getting his master's also. But, we live in, grew up in Sandusky. So this one summer he ended up living with us in Sandusky, and he did glass blowing at Cedar Point. They have a little thing over there where they, do art, sculpture, and things like that. He's awesome dude, but he would ride his jet ski to work and all this stuff, but really neat guy. But so he, kind of like you, grinded, and, he's an artist, and I'll have to look up his handle on Instagram. But so he actually lives down in Georgia now, and he does art, man. He just grinding, and now he's on like a lot of the HGTV shows, Treehouse,
Pretty cool.
all those shows. He just got re-up for another season, but he did a big sculpture. He's like a little guy. He's our 141. He is 5 foot tall, but he did went to Shaq's house and did a big sculpture. I think it was like 10 backboards, big sculpture in Shaq's yard, and it represented every backboard that Shaq shattered or something, or rings, or I forget what the story is, but yeah, you have to check him out.
I've seen that piece of art with the backboards that Shaq shattered.
Yeah, my college roommate, actually, he owned the house in college. He wrestled at Streetsboro in high school, but yeah, he made that. He created that. He welded it, the whole thing. He's getting back into. I just was talking to him last week. He's getting back into the glass blowing things, but he's made a profession of it. Loving what he does. Art. That's what he's always loved. And college, he's like, that's what I'm going to do. And didn't look back. And I'm going to look up his Instagram right now.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. That's what you love to do. Do what you love. I mean, I love wrestling, so that's what I'm doing. That was one of the greatest things that was told to me at 23 years old. Go, teaching pays your bills, wrestling's just your hobby. And I was like, I'm gonna go make wrestling pay my bills.
Right. Yep, that's him. It's Americo Glass, Americo Glass, and actually just he's like on all the TV shows now. All the HGT stuff. And he's a really cool, neat guy. But but yeah, similar story to you, but obviously different field. That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah. Speaking of Cedar Point, I've only been to Cedar Point once in my life.
Oh wow.
Even after living up there for 2 years and being 10 miles away, I only went once. I was a big Geauga Lake Six Flags guy.
Okay, yeah, a little closer.
Did you go over there back when they were in their heyday?
Geauga Lake?
Yeah.
No, with Cedar Point, I literally grew up a couple miles down the road from Cedar Point, so that was the thing. Going to Cedar Point, and it was right there. So
yeah. So when Geauga Lake it became Six Flags, but when it was Geauga Lake / SeaWorld, every family that lived within like a 10-mile radius got 4 free season passes a year. And we lived 2 miles from the park. So I got free season passes, and I spend most of my summers in like middle school riding my bike up to Six Flags and Geauga Lake and Cedar Point. So that's why if you grow up in that area, you don't usually go up to Cedar Point. If you grow up in Cedar Point, you don't come over.
Yeah, same. Yeah, it's
like, why drive all that way when you got it in your backyard?
Exactly. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Those parks, man. Cedar Point especially, man. They're growing every year. It's crazy. It's I didn't even get up there, obviously, with COVID this year, but we usually go with the kids. It's wild what they have going on. From entertainment to food to all kinds of the water park now over there, the beach. I mean, it's pretty cool what they got going on over there. But yeah, if you get up this way, you have to hit me up.
Oh yeah, I'll be back that way. I try to come to Ohio as much as I can. I try to hit at least 2 to 3 Browns games a year. I was down for the opener against Cincinnati
And they're looking good, man. They're looking good, huh?
They're looking amazing. We have,
Yeah.
because here in the NCAA, we obviously can't do fantasy football, can't bet or anything.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a coaches fantasy league with just the coaching staff, and I started it my first year here just because I've always wanted a fantasy football team with all Browns players. Lost
For
every
sure,
game.
it's probably paying off finally, huh?
Yeah. No, we're still losing. I mean, we're still scoring 100 because it's that flex position. That flex position gets you every week because week one, David Njoku's there, and he's scoring points.
Mm-hmm.
If he gets injured, you put Rashard Higgins there. Rashard doesn't play for 2 weeks. Then you take Rashard out and you put in Harrison Bryant. Well, now Rashard's scoring touchdown. Harrison Bryant's got no points. It's the flex position. That's what gets me every week.
Nice.
Flex.
No, that's cool. That's cool. Well, anything else?
That's what I love. Music, Cleveland Browns football, grinding. I think like my favorite quote is just "He who will not work shall not eat." And just like I just love to wake up and work and eat and just grind. That's it. I get up. I don't even set an alarm anymore. I just wake up at about 5 a.m. every day.
That's
just
awesome.
Ready to go and get after it.
That's awesome. No, that's I'm glad we could connect again, man. It's I love hearing your story, hearing your passion. This has been great. I'm glad you took the time. Thanks for taking the time, man. Do you have anything else?
No, that's it. I hit on everything. My coaching journey. I gave a little story about our program. So if anybody's watching this and you got some kids that want to be great wrestlers, great students, and great people, you know where they can go to get that done. And we talked a little bit about the Coon kid offline. If you see him, tell him I'm glad he finally did something with as big as he was.
Yeah, no, yeah, actually he I ran into him a few times this summer. He dates a girl who lives across the street from me. So I bump into him all the time when he's back in town because he's, visiting across the street. So yeah, I'll reach out to him, let him know you said what's up. So.
And then if I come to town, I'll reach out to you, come out there, maybe do a clinic or something, meet some of your guys. You got any guys wrestling right now that, want to get out of Ohio? I'm an Ohio guy. I love it there, but Henniker, New Hampshire is an absolutely special place. It is one of the most beautiful places I've ever been in life.
Nice.
You'll enjoy here. You'll enjoy wrestling here. We've got a really cool wrestling setup as far as what our wrestling room is. We practice in a field house. So we have about 60 by 20 yards of turf that we put our mats out on, and then we wrestle on.
Oh, nice.
If it's a day where, we don't want to wrestle too hard today, or it's February and we're tired, we can play a 60-yard game of soccer and just run and sprint for 2 hours. Or we can have the sleds on the side, and we have a whole weight room on the side, and just
oh wow,
we have so much at our disposal that other teams don't have in the standard wrestling room. I love it here, man. I don't think I'll ever leave.
If you like the show, subscribe on YouTube or your favorite podcast channel. If you didn't, DM us and let us know what and who you'd like to hear from.